Thank you. Okay, so good afternoon once again, everyone. In the last class, as far as I remember, we had stopped here at applications of genetics. Did we have a look at hereditary? I doubt. No.
Not the slide. We did discuss the concept though.
Sorry?
We didn't take a look at the slide, but we did discuss the concept.
Okay. Perfect. So then we can start directly from here. So I'm not going to revise again the earlier slides because these were the simpler aspects. You can just go over it later. So starting with the heredity part, again, everyone knows what heredity is. It's just the biological definition that we are concerned about in this particular case. What heredity refers to is transmission of genetically based characteristics. Now, it's not just the transmission of genes or transmission of characteristics, but it's a combination of both. That is, both genes are getting transferred, and because of that transfer of genes, some physical characteristic they are being expressed in the offspring. So that is what is transmission of genetically based characteristics from parents to offspring. And like I always mention, the words they are most important. We should not say parents to child, or like putting any other names there. This is the biological term, that is from parents to offspring. Offspring is the ultimately child, but when we don't say it in the biological language, in the scientific writing part, we always say offspring, or we say from parent generation to next. That's how also we can say it. So that is the heredity, that is transmission of genetically based characteristic um, from parents to offspring. Transmission of the traits happens from one generation to the next. Traits is another word for physical characteristics. Traits, that is whatever we see, like in terms of skin color, eye color, hairstyle, either curly or straight, or uh, shape of the nose. These are all physical traits. That means they are externally visible. So those traits, they are being transferred due to the heredity because of the genetic transfer. These traits, they can be physical, like eye color, blood type, and so on. Now you might wonder, blood is not visible from outside, but still it is considered as physical characteristic because it is a physical part of the body, right? And that's why it is being put there. Or even a disease can also be transferred in hereditary transmission, or some behavioral characteristics can also be transferred. Now this particular part, behavioral transmission or behavioral hereditary, is a special branch. Again, if you want if you want to look at, you can just go over and google it. We won't be discussing it here. So that is the heredity and different types of traits that can be transmitted from parent to offspring. Now, one of the most important saying in genetics in general is known to be like begets like. What it means is very simple. It means whatever was earlier version in terms of an individual organism will produce the same type of organism. So like will produce likes. So that way. So it means young ones will look like their parents, and the examples, cat will produce only cat, mango tree will produce mangoes, and mango seed will germinate only into mango tree, and so on. So, and the sarcastic example given here is humans will give birth only to human and not to apes. Yeah, that is like quite obvious statement. But again, when we explain like begets likes, these are the different examples that comes into picture. Again, this is true with respect to bacteria and everything. as well. That is what is given as an example in the last line. But in short, what you need to remember here is the young ones, they look like their parents. That is like uh, produce, like in short, that's what it means. Produce or reproduce or create that way. So like begets, like that is what is the meaning of this phrase. Uh, again, in with respect to the variation in population, this part we had seen earlier also in like quite a sufficient detail. But just to go over this quickly, we already know that many main characteristics or traits, they are common amongst few individual. Like for example, even if you look at our family, we might have either a similar skin color or similar hair structure or a similar nose structure or eye color or any of these type of characteristics or traits, and they are common. At the same time, there will be certain differences. That is what is variation. So though several races or tribes, they look different in several features. Now, even though there are some characteristics which are same, there are several races or tribes. So let's start from the worldwide population, right? We know that Caucasian people look different, or the Eastern population looks different, or South Asian population is different, African population is different. So there are drastic differences in terms of their physical appearances. And though they will have certain common features, and that is the differences will lead to the variation in that population. Now, if you come one step down, that is from, let's say, if we take only Indian population, within the same race or the particular tribe, the individual members in the population will show differences. Like again, we all Indians, we don't look same or similar. We have quite a drastic differences. Again, there the differences are in terms of physical characteristics, and they are different. Now, even further one level down, that is the smallest unit of population called family. Even within family, there will be certain differences in terms of body features, right? Though we are born from our parents, that is the direct relationship, uh, compared to the other population in the city or in the town or in the country. Though we have direct relation with our parents, still we have certain differences. And whole of this phenomena, these small differences among the individuals, they are called as variation. Now, why does that happen? We have seen as a part of
See,
meiosis. Yes.
maybe it's just little nitpicking,
Sorry.
but it's slightly nitpicking. But it says all organisms, but don't like bacteria make an exact copy of each other.
Ha. So I will come to that. That is the last point there, any which ways. So what happens is, if it depends on what type of reproduction bacteria or virus does. Mostly it is asexual for all of those species. But in that case also, if they are dividing by binary fission, then it is same. If they are dividing by spore formation, they can be little different. Yeah. So there is just a little bit, but like what you said is true. Most of the microorganisms, they are identical to each other, but not always. There are certain methods, like I mentioned, the spore formation method of the bacteria. In that case, the original what you say species may not be same like the parents. Also, if you must have heard now, the corona variants, right? That is the adaptation of that coronavirus to the surroundings, and then it keeps changing its nature. And that is one reason why some of the cases, they are not exactly identical to their parents. So because bacteria and viruses, they undergo mutation faster, there the chance of having exactly same individuals or offspring is again little less. Yeah, Aditya, clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, and of course there are differences in animals too. So this was about the human, this was about the microorganism, and in animals also you will find some variation for sure. So that is the variation in population. And the basis of this goes back to the fact of meiosis. During the meiosis 1, that is the prophase stage, the homologous chromosomes will overlap on each other, a part of it will be exchanged, and that is what leads to the more and more variation amongst the individuals. So that is the variation in population. I assume that there are no questions, and I will directly move forward into few of the basic concepts that we will need throughout this chapter, and which we will be using these terminologies quite often, and they are gene. Now again, gene we have discussed in detail in the earlier chapter. That is the basic physical and functional unit of heredity. It's physical unit, that means it is forming a certain structure within the cell and within the nucleus for sure, but it also has a functional unit, and that is of the heredity. That is, it is getting transmitted from one generation to other, and genes are made up of DNA, that we all know. Now another concept that is most important is allele. Yeah, allele is one of the two or more versions of the same gene. For the moment, let's stick to only two. One of the two versions of the same gene at the same place on a chromosome. Now if you remember, I had mentioned of the chromosomes. After when the gametes are being formed and then when they fuse, we get one set of chromosome from father and the other set from the mother. That means we are receiving one copies of each chromosome from individual parent. Now within that particular individual set of chromosome, let's say for example chromosome number 1, which has a particular gene located at certain number of base pair or certain number in the sequence. uh, it will be same for the mother as well as father. So maybe I will draw this so it will be a little more clear, and I will again spotlight, I will use the board for that. So what it means is, uh, yeah, we can see this. So if we have, let's say, male and we have female, right? And we receive certain chromosomes. So we receive one set, that is 23 from male and 23 from female. Now I am not segregating two parts, that is autosomes and sex chromosomes. That is not it. Let's say out of this 23, the first chromosome, chromosome number 1 is this one. Yeah. And chromosome number 1 of female is this one. Assume they are of same length, and there is a gene located at certain location. Let's say starting at 1000 to 2000. A gene. Randomly, I am giving a hypothetical example, but this is true in actual scenario. Same will be the case here in the chromosome 1, which will start from 1000 to 2000. This might vary a bit. It can be like 1010 to 2020, and this can be 1050 to 2000 something. That much variation will be there, but approximately they will be located at the same position on the same chromosome. These are called as alleles of each other. So for one particular characteristic, let's say of skin color, and this gene codes for skin color, so you will receive one copy of the skin color from your father and the other copy of the skin color from mother, and that's how we receive two copies for individual gene, and they are called as alleles. Remember, whole chromosome is not called as an allele. Chromosome has various genes located in it, and that copy of the gene is called as an allele. So similarly, there will be another copy of the another allele here. Let's say at the end. So these two will be alleles for each other. That way, these green ones they will be alleles, and these two will be a pair of allele. So that's what is allele means. And again, if you have any question, please do stop and ask me, but I am continuing otherwise. So allele is one of the two, that is one either of these two versions or copies of the same gene at the same place on a chromosome. So one from father, one from mother, so on the same chromosome. What same chromosome doesn't mean the same copy of the chromosome, but same chromosome number. So that is an allele. Now, an individual inherits two alleles for each gene. And obviously, like I said, one from each parent. So that is what is allele. I hope you have understood this concept. The next concept in that we will be using often is homozygous and heterozygous. Now, again, homozygous refers to that organism has two copies of the same allele. That means both the alleles from both the parents, they will code for the same function. And in heterozygous, it means organisms has two different alleles for a particular gene. What does this mean? Let's say, for example, my father has blue eyes and my mother also has blue eyes. So what I will receive is a copy of gene which codes for blue eyes from my father and a copy of gene which codes for blue eyes from my mother. So I will have both copies same for the eye color, that is of the blue eyes. That is called as homozygous. That means homo means same, zygous refers to that particular zygotic situation. So that is homozygous, that is the same copy of the alleles for a particular gene. In this case, the example that I have given was of the eye color coding gene. Now, what will be heterozygous? Let's say same example, taking the eye color. My father has blue eyes, my mother has brown eyes. So in this case, what I will receive is a copy of a gene coding for blue eyes, and I will receive a copy of a gene coding for brown eyes. In this case, for a same gene, I have two different characteristics or two different alleles, correct? And that is what is called as heterozygous. Again, in another example that is being given here with respect to the pea plant, it can have white flowers or it can also have purple flowers. So let's say if it has only white flowers, it can be either homozygous white. Now I'm skipping this word dominant because which we'll see later. So it can be homozygous white. That means both the allele that particular plant has received from its parent will have white flowers. So the mother will also have white flower of that plant, and the father will also have white flower of the same plant. So that is what is homozygous allele. And in case of heterozygous, let's say either of the parent had purple and the second one had white flowers, and that is generating that is getting generated into the next generation. It can have either white or purple based on what is the dominant phenotype, but then that allele is called as heterozygous, which has purple as well as white coding gene for the flower color. Again, have you understood this homozygous and heterozygous? Just understand the homozygous and heterozygous terminology. We will see that how does it happen.
Sir,
Yes.
There's something called a test cross.
Hmm?
So is it sort of like a special experiment?
We will see that, Aditya, just after this. Okay, does anyone have any question with respect to homozygous and heterozygous? And I must mention that if you do not understand these terminologies, we will not understand anything henceforth, at least in this chapter. That I can guarantee you for sure. So if you are not sure what this word means, please ask and please clarify. Otherwise, the rest of the chapter will just go for waste, because we will be using these terminologies quite often. It is like the basic concept in the genetics. Okay, so I assume that there are no questions in here. So going over to the next terminology, what Aditya was talking about, a test cross. What a test cross means, like in case of human or even in case of animal, we call it as a mating, right? Mating is like literally the sexual intercourse between a male and a female. That is what is mating. And that particular process can also be called as crossing each other, or can also be called as breeding. So there are several terminologies. So it is ultimately a test cross, which is a method to check the genotype of an organism. Now, let's say I randomly give you two flowers or two insects, and I ask you to identify a genotype of these two organisms by just doing the crossing or just doing the mating or breeding part
So
without
the genotype is whether the gene is recessive or dominant.
sorry.
So phenotype is the physical thing.
Hmm?
Phenotype is the whether the gene is dominant or recessive.
No, 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 no. Genotype, so like physical characteristics means phenotype. Gene characteristics or whatever is that gene composition or gene sequence, that is genotype. Okay. Again, phenotype and genotype, we will see this further again. But phenotype refers to the physical characteristics which has occurred due to genotype, that is due to a particular sequence of gene. That means I have received certain genes from my parents, and because of that, I have expressed certain characteristic in the physical appearance. So whatever is internal in terms of genetic makeup of my body or of my cells, that is genotype. And whatever is being expressed outside in terms of structure of nose, eye color, hair color, skin color, whatever, all these are phenotypes or physical characteristics. Okay, so that particular method to check the what kind of genotype or what kind of genetic material or what kind of genetic sequence is present in a particular organism, uh, that is called as a test cross. And like I said, in simplest language, we call this as mating or breeding or so on. And in plants specifically, because they don't meet, like they don't mate with each other, right? It just like a crossing over experiment, and that is why, or breeding experiment we call it. That's why it is the test cross being said for the majorly plants. Okay, then the phenomena of being dominant or being recessive. Now, in English translation, you know what is meaning of dominant and you know the meaning of recessive. Something similar applies in case of biology also. So dominant refers to the relationship between two versions of a gene, that is two alleles, and individuals that receive two versions of each gene, what is known as allele from each parent. Now if one of the allele of a gene is different and only one allele is expressed, that means let's say I am a heterozygous individual. So again I will go back to the same example that I had given earlier. My father has blue eyes, my mother has brown eyes, and I have received one copy of each allele, that is one allele from for blue eyes, one allele for brown eyes. So I am a heterozygous individual for the eye color, right? Heterozygous or homozygous always refers to a specific phenotype. It cannot be generalized. Okay, so I am heterozygous for eye color and I expressed blue eyes. So my eyes are blue, not because it is coming from my father's side, but because blue allele is the dominant one. Yeah, that is the meaning of the dominant allele or dominant gene. And obviously the brown one in the same case will be called as recessive allele. Any question here? I hope others are following. Otherwise, let me ask. They will give me examples. Okay, let me start with Janvi.
I got disconnected right now, so I don't know what we just did, but sure.
Okay, Vikram.
Not.
I will explain. I will ask you, Janvi, after.
I was planning to ask you later, so I didn't say anything. But
Vikram,
Yeah, sir.
can you give me example of dominant and recessive?
Uh, okay, I'll take a skin tone as an example.
Okay,
So, if my dad has a darker skin tone and my mom has a lighter one, if I receive a lighter skin tone, then that gene is from my mother, which is the dominant one, and then my dad's will be the recessive.
correct. Yeah, in simplest term, whatever gets expressed in the heterozygous individual for a particular phenotype will be called as dominant and the other one will be recessive. Janvi, did you understand?
yeah, got that.
Okay. Anyone else would like to give any other example, or shall I pick out someone again? Just one more so that everyone is clear and everyone is on the same page. Mahi,
We can take the example of, I have to give an example of the same thing, right?
yeah,
You can take the example of hair color, I guess. If one of your parents has a brown hair color and one of them has a blonde, and if you inherit both of them, and suppose you have brown hair, then that means that the brown allele is like dominant and the blonde one is recessive.
correct. And like I said, it is not dependent on whose side it is coming from. It is fixed in nature that a particular gene behaves like a dominant gene, or particular allele behaves like a dominant allele, and the other one always behave like a recessive one. So we will see that particular part, but as of now what you need to understand is whatever is getting expressed from the alleles which are being received from the parents, and after that whatever is being expressed, that will be a dominant gene and the other one will be a recessive gene. So I assume that these parts, they are extremely clear in everyone's hand. So next time I say homozygous. Now, okay, let me ask this question. What will be the case of homozygous dominance then? Can someone explain it? Now imagine what is homozygous. Within homozygous, what is dominance? Explain. people. Good morning. Wake up. Tanisha,
Yes, sir.
can you try it?
So try what?
Okay. So I asked, can you tell me what would be the situation of dominant and recessive in the homozygous individuals for a particular phenotype?
So in homozygous, you would either have both the alleles which are dominant or both the alleles which would be recessive.
Right. So
So you would get, like, if you have like suppose both your parents have blue eyes, so you will get blue eyes because it's not heterozygous.
right. So I hope everyone understood what Tanisha was trying to explain.
Sachin, so
Yes.
I got disconnected again. I have no idea what Tanisha said. What did she say?
She said that in case of homozygous parents, let's say both the parents, they have blue eyes and blue is the dominant allele, then in the child will obviously having, or the offspring will all obviously be having the blue gene, blue color of the eye as an allele from both the parents, right? And that will be called as homozygous dominant. Now,
Okay.
on contrary, which the thing that we haven't seen it yet, there is something called as homozygous recessive. Now, let's say out of the in general population, blue color of the eyes and brown color of the eyes, these are the two alleles. Obviously, there are more of these, but let's say, for example, a hypothetical situation, there are only these two alleles. One is blue and other one is brown, and blue is always the dominant one. So, and let's say both the parents, they don't have blue eyes, but they both have brown eyes. So that means whether they are heterozygous recessive or heterozygous dominant, in either of these cases, they will have brown eyes, but what a child will be receiving is the brown allele from both the parents, and that child or that offspring will be called as homozygous recessive offspring for a particular phenotype, that is eye color. I hope you understood. So there can be both brown coming, sorry, both blue coming, and that blue is the dominant phenotype. So child homozygous dominant, but let's say both parent has given brown allele, then in that case child will be called as homozygous recessive, because brown color of the eye is a recessive allele genotype or phenotype. Is this part clear?
Sir, but then if both the alleles are recessive, then what will the offspring get?
Both the
Both the alleles are recessive, so then what will the offspring get?
offspring will get the recessive allele, no? So again, this part, okay, continue.
But in the slide, it's that recessive is masked.
Recessive is masked in presence of dominance. That is the beauty of these genes. Recessive, imagine, let's say again, I go back to the same example, but just in terms of recessive. My father has given me brown allele, which is recessive, and my mother has also given me brown allele, which is again recessive. So that means I have both the copies of the gene which are recessive. Does that mean I cannot have the eye color? No, right? It can have an eye color, and that is why it is called as homozygous recessive, and homozygous recessive can express the phenotype. That is the special case of the genetics. Yeah, it's, you can call it a like science magic, but now again, it's not a magic as such. There is quite a lot of description behind it, why all of that happens. This has to do with our the processes of cell division and also the developmental processes, especially in the transcription phases. So, but again, we need not go into those molecular mechanisms. So I will skip that part. You understood it, right, Tanisha? What I meant?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay, so again, I hope there are no further questions and we can move forward. Now, the reason why we did so many concepts is because we want to understand what this gentleman did in his experiments. His name is Gregor Mendel. Period is 1822 to 84. He was generally like an ordinary man otherwise, but now he is considered as a father of genetics. And obviously, I don't want to go into his details, what he studied and blah, blah. But just what we need to know about his experiment that we will look for. So he studied these pea plants, that is Pisum sativum, that is the biological name of this. Now these questions was being asked, like, what is the biological name of the pea plant? That's why I have mentioned it here. We should know it. It is Pisum sativum. Again, I hope you know the like convention how we write it. We always write these names in italics. First letter which indicates the genus and the species. First letter is capital and this letter is always small. So that is just the general convention. I feel like I should share. So after like few initial experiments that he did with the pea plant, so he had a plot of 9 acres and then he was doing farming and so on, and then he had grown certain pea plants and he had observed certain characteristics in the different generations, and then he decided to study them and with respect to these 7 traits or 7 physical characteristics that seemed to be inherited independently of other traits. That means whatever are the other traits of that particular pea plant, these traits, they were inherited like in an independent manner and in a certain pattern, but not randomly, but there was certain pattern in which they were getting inherited. And that's what he had observed, but he had no proof of it. And that's why he went for this study. And what were those 7 characteristics or 7 traits? That is seed shape, flower color, seed coat tint. That means how does a seed coat look like? Pod shape, unripe pod color, flower location, and the plant height. Now this is same being shown here in this slide. Seed shape can either be round or wrinkled. Seed color can be either yellow or green. Pod shape can be inflated or constricted. That is like around each seed which is present inside, it will be little constricted. Then pod color, that is green or yellow. Flower color can be
You
purple.
go back to the previous slide.
Yes, this one.
Yeah. So what is this that Charles Darwin is doing here?
I'm yet to come there.
Oh, I thought we just
I'm
moved
just showing
ahead.
you these 7 traits. What are they? Yeah. So that is the flower color, purple and white. Then the flower location. So where does the flower originate from? Either it is terminal, that is at the end of the branch, or it is from the axis where the leaves comes out. So at every point from the stem where the leaf come out, that's where the flower is growing. That is axial flowers and the terminal flower, and the plant size, either a tall plant or dwarf plant. So these were the 7 characteristics which were being studied by the Mendel, and he did certain experiments with this. What are those experiments? We are going to see in the further slides. Again, this paragraph I'm going to skip here because we may not understand until and unless we actually go and look at those experiments. But just to quickly, maybe I will try to do a brief of it. So this study, the study of these 7 characteristics showed that when a true breeding different varieties were crossed with each other. So that means true breeding means when a plant which has white flower will always give white flower when it is bred with the white flower only. That is true breeding. Cross breeding would be white flower with purple flower. Yeah, understand the difference. And again, when I mean by cross between a white flower and a purple flower, it is not the actual cross between flowers. Yeah, it is actually plants, they are being crossed as in they are being bred together. That is, you take the male gamete from the flower of the white plant, and you take the female gamete of the purple or white flower, and then you put them together, and then in the female that ovary structure, the flowers will grow and so on. So that is the breeding process. Again, we need not go into that process, but that's how the breeding means. So true breeding means of the same characteristics. And when the same characteristic true breeding varieties were crossed with each other as in white being crossed with purple flower. Or example is tall plant fertilized by short plants or dwarf plants. That is what is true breeding variety crossing with the other variety or each other. In the second generation, so when these crosses were done in the second generation, 1 in 4 pea plants that he had received, that is the offspring that he had received, they had pure bred recessive traits. Now this means it was homozygous recessive trait, and that is what he had observed. So if he had crossed homozygous dominant for one characteristic, that is white flower, and homozygous dominant for the purple flower character, what he observed at the end was there were 3 dominantly expressing plants in the offspring, and one one homozygous recessive plant. Again, like I said, you may not be able to imagine this, you will see this example, but that was the outcome of these experiments. And how exactly we will see it here, I will show you quickly as of now, but this is the diagram which will explain, these are the diagrams which will explain all these things in detail. So we'll see that in the later parts of this slide. So that was a quick thing to explain his experiment. Now Charles Darwin also tried to explain this inheritance, and what Charles Darwin did at the same time was he designed a theory of pangenesis. Pangenesis is nothing but it is a hypothetical mechanism of heredity, in which this Charles Darwin proposed that each part of the body continually emitted its own type of small organic particle. So what he meant was that irrespective of whatever color or characteristics or phenotype is present in the plant, during each time there is a emission or deletion of certain organic molecules which he called gemmules, and what he was referring to was the genes ultimately. So he meant that certain genes are being deleted, and that is why the offspring plant or offspring generation will have the dominant characteristics. So that was his theory of pangenesis. And then he also thought that these gemmules, they have aggregated in the gonads, that is the female reproductive as well as male reproductive structure in the flower, and contributing to the heritable information of the gametes. So that was his theory, but obviously he was wrong, which was proved much later. But at that time, Darwin's theory was not accepted at all, because like I told you, he was an ordinary person, and people did not believe in his research for quite some time, until recent. He became the father of genetics, or he got recognition in the field of genetics like very recently, maybe few like 100 years back or so, I suppose. But during his time, he did not get recognition while he was studying it. So that was the worst part, but then later, of course, now everyone knows genetics by Mendel's experiment. So that is the overall idea of what Mendel wanted to do and what was the contribution overall. Okay, I suppose we can take a break here for today, and from here onwards we will start in the next class, because it will take quite a long time to explain these things as well. This is nothing but what are the different characteristics that we see in human, and which is dominant and which is recessive. Actually, I have forgotten to highlight in these cases which one is the dominant one. So that I will do, and then we will start in the next classes, and then we will continue with the Mendel's experiment as well. So what exactly he has done, why he has chosen this Pisum sativum and so on. All of it we will see in the next classes. Does anyone have any questions?